Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into one of Carl Jung's most famous, misunderstood, and honestly most powerful psychological concepts, the shadow. We're going to pull back the curtain on the unconscious mind and explore the invisible forces that shape our behavior, our society, and our ultimate potential.
To get us started, have you ever just snapped at somebody unexpectedly? Or maybe you felt this intense wave of jealousy or pettiness wash over you, and after the dust settled, you thought, who is that? That's not me. Well, what if I told you that it is you? Or at least a hidden part of you? That deeply relatable experience is the absolute signature of the invisible force we're unpacking today. Here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the mask and the shadow, look at childhood origins, explore the mirror of projection, discover the golden shadow, and wrap up with authentic Jungian shadow work. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The mask and the shadow. The conscious mask we wear versus the hidden self. To really get the shadow, you kind of have to understand the light first. Jung called this the persona, which is literally Latin for mask. It's the highly curated, socially acceptable identity we project to the world. It's the version of you that goes to work, smiles nicely at family dinners, and scrolls through social media. We construct this to ensure we fit in, to avoid being outcast, and to survive society's endless demands. But then, right in stark contrast, we have the shadow. Jung saw this as the ultimate blind spot of our psyche. It's the unconscious vault where we shove absolutely everything that doesn't fit into that neat little persona. We're talking repressed weaknesses, primal impulses, taboo desires, basically anything your ego or society at large decides is completely unacceptable. Think of this dynamic exactly like a massive iceberg. The persona is just that visible tip sticking out of the water. It's conscious, it's constructed, and it's exactly what we want everyone to see. But the massive, unseen shadow structure lurks entirely beneath the surface. It holds all those repressed, hidden instincts. And just like a real iceberg, it's actually that huge, hidden mass dictating where the whole thing is drifting, silently controlling our fate. Section 2. Childhood origins of the shadow. How the shadow is born as a psychological defense. So, we aren't actually born with this shadow. Early on in childhood, we freely express all our natural animalistic emotions. We scream, we cry, we demand things, but we quickly learn that certain behaviors get punished or frowned upon by our caregivers. To keep their love, we suppress those parts. Then, adolescence hits and the stakes get way higher. We push down anything that might make us a social outcast. By the time we hit adulthood, we've totally internalized this pressure, essentially splitting our personality in two just to project an illusion of perfection. And this brings up a super validating point. Creating a shadow doesn't mean you're broken, malicious, or inherently bad. Not at all. It is a completely natural psychological defense mechanism. It was built to protect you from emotional pain, rejection, and abandonment. Honestly, your shadow kept you safe when you didn't have any other tools to cope with the world. Moving on to Section 3, the mirror of projection, the monsters we create in others. Because those repressed traits don't just magically vanish into the void. When an unintegrated shadow gets too heavy, we do something called projection. It's a 3-step cognitive distortion. First, we repress an undesirable trait. Second, because our ego flat out refuses to look at it, we unconsciously cast or project that exact flaw onto someone else. And third, we harshly judge them for it. It's an ego trick, letting us attack our own flaws from a very safe distance. Let's ground this in everyday reality. If you secretly struggle with being disorganized, you might find yourself obsessively judging others as sloppy. Or if you've got a lot of repressed anger, it usually leaks out as passive aggressiveness, like a perfectly timed backhanded compliment. Deep feelings of powerlessness, that often turns into tyrannical behavior the second you get a tiny bit of authority. So if you ever catch yourself reacting with intense, completely irrational anger at a coworker's minor flaw, you are probably looking right into the mirror of your own shadow. And this scales up massively. Society actually shares a collective shadow containing the ancestral, shared darker sides of humanity. When entire groups project their repressed fears and mass uncertainties onto other groups, that's where we get stereotyping, prejudice, and deep social division. We literally create monsters out of other people, so we never have to face the darkness hanging out in our own collective basement. Section 4. Discovering the golden shadow. Unearthing the hidden psychological treasure. Get ready for a total plot twist here. Jung asserted this absolutely mind-blowing metric. Up to 80% of the shadow is actually pure gold. Sure, there's a 20% slice of darkness, your anger, greed, jealousy, but the vast majority of what we repress is actually packed with immense positive potential that we've just blindly locked away. Let's look at what's actually in there. Because we were taught to be polite or compliant as kids, we ended up repressing some absolutely brilliant qualities. We pushed down our raw creativity because maybe it was a bit too messy. We suppressed our assertiveness and boundary setting because someone told us it was selfish. We even hid our deep empathy. By trying so hard to be perfect, we literally locked away the exact tools we need to thrive as vibrant, whole adults. Psychologist Carolyn Kaufman reframes this narrative so perfectly. She says, in spite of its function as a reservoir for human darkness, or perhaps because of this, the shadow is the seat of creativity. If you want to access your unbridled passion and your authentic power, you have to bravely dip into this hidden reservoir. You've got to go into the dark to find the gold. Finally, Section 5, Authentic Jungian Shadow Work, the Return and Integration. Jung used this incredible ancient Greek term for this inward expedition, nekia. It essentially translates to a journey to the underworld. He framed this whole psychological process not as some depressing chore, but as a high-stakes, heroic adventure right into your own depths. To reclaim your whole self, you have to be willing to temporarily let your ego fade and courageously descend into the darkness. One of the absolute best tools Jung utilized for this descent is dream work. When you sleep, your conscious ego finally drops its guard, and the shadow comes out to play. You start by keeping a dedicated dream journal right by your bed. You're looking for recurring themes, symbols, and specifically, dream personas that evoke intense emotions. Those crazy characters in your dreams, they're often personifications of your very own shadow complexes trying to talk to you. Now, while you're awake, you can use a technique called active imagination. This isn't just answering generic journaling prompts. It's about opening a live conscious dialogue with these hidden parts. Think uncensored stream of consciousness journaling, or literally writing out a script where your ego talks directly to your anger or fear. You can also use expressive art therapy, like pottery, poetry, or sand tray therapy, to give a physical form and voice to the parts of you that have been silenced for decades. The ultimate goal of all this work is assimilation. Let me be clear, shadow work is absolutely not about defeating or eradicating the shadow. You can't amputate a piece of your own psyche. Instead, the goal, a process Jung called individuation, is to acknowledge the shadow and safely integrate it into your conscious ego. This transforms all those destructive impulses into highly useful energy, giving you a wider consciousness and this profound, unshakable self-acceptance. And look, integrating your shadow isn't just some self-improvement hack. As Jung famously pointed out, the best political, social, and spiritual work we can do is to withdraw the projection of our shadow onto others. When you stop projecting your unhealed trauma and hidden darkness onto your neighbors, your coworkers, and other cultures, you become a source of peace. Doing your own inner work is literally the most profound way you can help heal the divisions in our society. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a deeply provocative question to ponder. What gold is hiding in your shadow? What incredible talents, strict boundaries, and raw passions did you lock away a long time ago just to fit in? Because they are still down there, waiting for you. Are you ready to meet the rest of yourself? Thanks so much for joining me on this journey. Keep exploring, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.